Peace, sense, justice. They have always been the creeds in my heart, and are now the reason why I've decided to write down the whole thing. A long time has passed since the first attack of the most severe crisis in our time, but we are still wondering, what on earth does it mean? That was the eve of the millennium, of which no one had any memories, illogically. The next day, time was already reversed to 1996, the moment we opened our eyes. We walked out of the building made of grey and white marble as usual, hardly aware that the sun we bathed in was from another time. Our survival was unexpected and almost unbelievable in such a calamity which swept the globe. Why did the headquarters of the Foundation survive the reverse? Why couldn't we find our younger selves in the outside world? Did any other region survive it as we did? What was the cause behind this calamity? I didn't know, nor did anyone else. Things remained unclear until time was reversed again. This time, we all witnessed that reign in the 80s. That was 1985. A gloomy, miserable night compared to that peaceful morning in 1996, when we were only bothered by confusion. We didn't expect time to be reversed again, nor did we understand the consequence. Even now, I still remember Paulina's desperate cry. One of her hands was already inside the safe area when she fell at the entrance to the headquarters, and that was the only part of her left to us the next second. The only legacies we found were an engagement ring on that hand, and her favorite blue polka dot scarf, which we used to wrap her remains in the end. To be honest, I admired those who still remained calm and sympathized with the arcanists on the edge of mental breakdown. It had nothing to do with the 1/4 arcanist blood in my body. It was only the kind of empathy which all mankind would share out of instinct in the face of a hopeless calamity. We lost many, too many colleagues. In the materials they sent back, we even saw all the horrifying phenomena, such as one's veins turning into electric wires. Since then, the storm, a word simply taken from visual observation, has been used to refer to the calamity. Of course, we can have a word for the calamity itself. But what words should we use to conclude all the absurdity and panic? Before the storm, we were all familiar with time. It was supposed to be a straight line connecting the past and the future. We followed the line to move forward. We broke free from ignorance. We built civilizations. We developed technologies. We promoted the well-being of mankind. And we improved our living conditions step by step. We were so sure that we were making progress on the right path. But then, the path was taken away all of a sudden. Oh, time, our closest old friend, where are you taking us? Back to the two most painful war times in the 20th century? The era when no one had ever heard the hiss of steam engines, or the century when mankind was yet to be enlightened? So far, mankind has achieved a lot in history. Dynamos, automobiles, flyovers, railways, hospitals, poorhouses. But if it goes on like this, what is the point of all the efforts we have made? Now we are like a shipwreck left on the island of time, witnessing the fall of the whole modern world in the unstoppable tsunami. Even though the Foundation has lost a lot of staff members, they are still doing fine compared to Laplace. My younger brother was a good example. He was the most sensible person I have ever known. On the first day of the second reverse, he told me, in a calm manner,
"At least we have reaffirmed that Newton was right. There was never an arrow of time in classical mechanics. neither in relativity nor quantum mechanics. That means this is absolutely normal. Whether the time goes backwards or forwards, even if it starts spinning around like a tabletop football player, they're not against the law of physics. We can go back in time and give Poincaré a medal of great profit.
The next day, he almost fell off the 6th floor due to excessive drinking. All the perceptions of time and space developed to this day were overthrown. We couldn't find any theories to explain the storm in any existing researches. There could only be 2 reasons for this situation. Either we've been completely wrong all the time, or we've come to a brand new world. And this new world can never make sense in the way of science, or that of physics. It cannot be verified by an independent third party, and it is impossible to be comprehended through reasoning. Is it true that we have been going the wrong way? Is it true that those once proven wrong by history, those arcanists who claim to possess gnosis, are actually on the right path? In fact, the one who put an end to the chaos was indeed not a human. This thing, I had no idea what it was. It claimed to be a machine which never stops working. It laughed at the limitations of our brains and the metaphysical mistakes we make ceaselessly. But it did solve the most urgent issue. A system was built to tackle storm-relevant emergencies after it took charge of Laplace. The first measure it adopted was contacting all the existing branches of the foundations at the time to confirm the scale of available manpower. Then it built observation stations all over the globe to find if there were any other regions immune to the storm. After that, numerous offices responsible for deducing the cause of the storm were established. Even though there were countless disagreements during the research, at least we had taken the first step. I handed in the application to take part in this mission, determined to get rid of the fog in my mind. In 1986, I was assigned to the office in Egypt. All my friends came to the dock to see me off, because we knew it could be the final goodbye. Even though we were equipped with the emergency communication devices issued by Laplace, we were still not clear when the storm would assault us, or where we could hide nearby. What really scared me was not the threat to my life, but the possibility of dying ignorant. Then I boarded the ship to Alexandria from Athens. And that was when I met her. Now when I recall it, it was almost impossible to ignore that group of arcanists on the ship. There were about a dozen of them, all in eccentric stitched robes. They were followers of a strange school which mixes arcanum and mathematics. I talked to them. No matter how much that conversation bewilders me now, I was more excited than confused at the time. They also survived the storm in 1996, and they noticed the unusual changes taking place in the world as well. That means I actually met another group of survivors from the millennium. Among them, the most easygoing one was Hugh. He was an engineer as well as an arcanist. We shared the same preference for human technology, and that became our common topic. Hugh was in his 30s, red-haired, cheeks sunken, and deeply depressed due to some kind of eye disease. He was a decent man, with a prudent attitude, working at a desk most of the time. He reminded me of the imperial miniature painting artists in the Sultan's palace. Most of them ended up blind after toiling for their life. He showed me the picture of his daughter. I don't have children, but I could feel his happiness as a father. Although I got along well with Hugh, he seemed quite out of place among that group, which was actually led by her. I don't know what words to use to describe her. She was like a meteor shower, a tempest, or an unreasonable catastrophe itself. Her existence was just like her name. It was simple, yet implied a lot. Please forgive me for my cowardice. Even now, I don't have the courage to write down her name, if one would call that a name. In fact, she was quite a kind, warm-hearted person. Among all the unregistered arcanists I've met, she was one of the nicest ones towards the Foundation. She looked young, even though I heard she had a daughter too. Besides, she still possessed the innocence of a child, and that kind of excitement exclusive for genius. That's right. It seemed the whole world was like a sparkling toy to her. Our communication was heart-stirring at the beginning. Both of us were eager to find out what was happening, like two shipwrecked victims grappling at each other on the sea. But I didn't have the slightest idea what she was talking about, actually. The problem was not the typical communication issues between humans and arcanists. I was sure the language we used didn't pose any obstacles, but still I couldn't understand any words of hers. I would believe that one is highly intelligent if one can name all the factors of 11,567 without thinking. But what this one said was illogical nonsense which no one could ever imagine. She claimed that there is a world of numbers, above all else, where the non-physical essences of all things exist in the form of timeless, absolute, unchangeable ideas, and that the physical world where the time flows is nothing but an appendage, which has never been real or true. And that's why the chaos in this world is not worth any attention, and we should focus on what happened to the supreme existence. What an utter disaster combining modern maths with ancient superstition. I saw another hubristic arcanist pretending to be the prophet by reliving Platonism. I don't even bother to mention the balderdash on soul numbers. Even the New Age movement could use some of her absurdity. But that was not yet the end. She even claimed to be aware of the exact year when the next reverse would happen. But when I asked her about it seriously, she said,
"My apologies. I've made an oath. I shall and only shall reveal the demonstration to people who have their own soul numbers."
I'm not sure whether she was making fun of me or being serious, but I had this feeling that she was eager to tell me how she was granted the secret through a moment of afflatus. It seemed she just saw through the laws behind all things instead of finding them through logical deduction.
Can't you see it? It is right in front of you.
After I expressed my inability to comprehend her words 30 times, she finally gave up and proffered regrets. I'd rather take it as a new kind of humiliation. What really irritated me about her, however, was her contempt towards science and all the scientific research methods. As far as I'm concerned, the value of a theory lies in its reliability, universality, and generalizability. Our pursuit of the truth has laid the foundation of modern science, allowing us to change the world. Yet, in her eyes, the value of a theory lies in its beauty. I talked to her on the current situation, and I told her how we would save lives and preserve the hard-earned technology of mankind if we could find the pattern of the storm. It was of course not an easy thing to do and would take enormous manpower, so I asked her sincerely to join the Foundation. Yet again she responded with contempt. She believed they would only become another military squad of the Foundation's.
Darling, maths are beautiful for their uselessness. That's why it remains noble and graceful in this sordid world, despite you humans' reckless action of using it to calculate ballistic.
She turned down my invitation and left an unfairly negative comment on our storm observation project.
The observation stations you built are destined to be toppled because their basis is the fragile world that follows the laws of physics. The efforts you've made are like nails on a sand beach, which will only be carried away by the next tidal wave.
But I said, perhaps our efforts are in vain, but someone has to do it. We will try every corner of the beach before making the conclusion that the world we are living in is already a hopeless ruin.
What a pragmatic, rigorous, and rational speech. But dear, the world is a hopeless ruin.
The conversation ended in disagreement. I don't know why Arcanists hate the world so much. Perhaps the reason is they have never been truly accepted. To this day, I still remember her venomous conclusion.
The world built on past experiences has ended. In your words, which you used to mock us, why not embrace the reality?
Yet about the gnosis which she deeply believed in, and the so-called prophecy she made through numbers, she had never given any proofs or details that showed rigorous logic. And the reason for her inactions was an oath she had made before some stone? Therefore, I believed her words were only the nonsense of a lunatic. When we first met, I thought she was different from all those psychos, who mistook the malfunction of their prefrontal cortex as the will of God. But they turned out to be the same. In the name of human sense, I swore everything she said was absurd and ridiculous to me. Until... The trip to Egypt didn't go smoothly. The ship was hit by a common storm at sea. We were lost in the fog after that, completely off course. Then something emerged from the water. Since the first storm, the Foundation has received frequent sightings of arcane creatures which should have been extinct in history. I had no idea what I was shooting at, even after I emptied the clip. And I didn't know what to do, so the Arcanists brought us back on course. She named the precise longitude and latitude of our location, even without using the sextant in the spare cabin. I wonder how she did that. Perhaps the world did look different in her eyes. Then when I was about to step on a random plank on the ship, she suddenly dragged me back. I thought it was only an inappropriate joke. The next second, the plank broke. I was stunned, and as to how she saw that coming, she just answered me as if we were talking about the weather.
Because that plank is deformed like a rhombus.
I was confused. Where is the rhombus? She laughed.
The rhombus can't be seen with eyes. You shall close your eyes, hearken to the teaching of the Supreme Existence, and seize the moment of afflatus.
Of course, I didn't see anything, nor did I understand what the moment of afflatus was. Perhaps it's just another privilege enjoyed by Arcanists, just like their right to be lunatic. Nevertheless, she reached the correct conclusion in a completely wrong way. Is it really possible? Anyway, she saved my life. But that was not enough to settle the differences between us. She remained rejective to working with the Foundation, and I finally gave up on the attempt to persuade them. My mission on that trip was not to make contact with them. Besides, what we needed was builders of the storm observation system, not some liars who would only make things worse. As for the shelter they took from the storm, she wouldn't say a word, as if she were dealing with a spy who tried to find out the deepest secrets of the Arcanists. In the end, Hugh mediated between us. He gave me an address in Istanbul to which I could send the letters to contact them. I After that, I spent more than half a year in the Egypt office. Things were even worse there than I expected. Some have gone missing after the storm. The people who were supposed to be in the Egypt office, according to the member list stored in the headquarters in 1985, were not there when I arrived. The situation could be caused by the limitations of the transmission of paper-based materials, or because the computer was not yet popularized to every corner of the globe at the time. One minor mistake of a copyist could develop into a huge difference. Besides that, the chaos inside Laplace was an even worse issue. I learned that someone published the paper Samplings of Global and Regional Chaotic Energy Route Changes in the name of Butterfly of Lorentz. Apparently they secretly used our sampling sites, yet their research direction and conclusion were radically different from Laplace's. The researchers equally divided into two schools, one sticking to the human technology they have focused on, and one changing their direction to Arcanum. At the time, it was still too early to decide which direction was right, without sufficient experimental data. But many already believed that if time continued to be reversed, human technology would only keep falling into decline, while Arcanum, which relies on personal ability, would rise again. It's true that Gnosis cannot be copied, verified by an independent third party, or comprehended through reasoning. Its nature decides that it cannot lay the foundation of science or be popularized to every ordinary person. It takes solid marble to build a castle, not slippery sand. Even so, what harm will it do to rely on Arcanum when the underlying logic of all things has become unreasonable? Before the disagreement was settled, the storm in 1987 was predicted. We were ordered to return to the headquarters 24 hours before its arrival. But the prediction was not accomplished by Laplace. A captive from Manus Vindictae names the precise date of that storm. Our enemies, those lunatic xenophobes, valuing only pure blood, made it further than we did. Yes, we built observation stations, we made countless deductions, we developed multiple simulation models. We made efforts, we sacrificed life, we did whatever we could. Yet the result was that we didn't find any other regions immune to the storm, except the headquarters and another one in North America. In the end, 95% of the branch members were reversed, 87.9% of the equipment was destroyed, and 100% of our predictions failed. In conclusion, our endeavor brought no achievements. As for the captive from Manus Vindictae, the delirium patient who claims that oracles flowed under his parietal bone, when we asked him how he learns the precise date of the storm, he burst into laughter.
Can't you hear it? Has God left you behind when he spread his grace?
Then, he smashed his own skull with a handcuff. Yes, there was no doubt. He was an incurable lunatic. But his insane nonsense was exactly the reason we survived the storm again. No matter how unreasonable or illogical it was, or how much a lie it sounded like. So we'd better believe we shouldn't go out in black today because the fish is swimming in the water. We'd better believe in the existence of the non-physical, everlasting, transcendent world where everyone's soul is a number. We'd better believe in the supreme existence which caused the disorder of time by merely casting its shadow. That means the life of individuals means nothing more than rubbish, and the world is but an imperfect ruin, where only the chosen ones will pass the trial, where the rest will be eliminated by the rain. How am I supposed to do that? Finally, I made up my mind to write to her. I didn't expect her to answer my questions. All I wanted was to confirm if she had survived that storm. For the sake of our peaceful talk about the rhombus. Yet what I heard from them was a simple announcement of her death, with only 2 words. She died. Then it burned and turned to ashes in a second. On the same day, the first and only timekeeper who just took office, the 12-year-old child, returned alone from the storm. She told us the time in the outside world at that point. And that was how I knew she was right.
It is right in front of you.
But if there is a God, why are you playing such a prank on us after we had suffered from the collapse of all the existing orders and the failure of all the great laws? If this is what she calls a glimpse of the supreme existence, the moment of afflatus, do you have to present it in such a cruel way? The last 2 digits in the number of the year after that storm were exactly her name and her number. 77.